This is Shadowline News with a critical follow-up to our earlier report on Kenya's escalating violence rhetoric. The situation has taken an even more alarming turn as senior government officials openly contradict presidential directives and call for lethal force against protesters. National Assembly Defense Committee Chairperson Nelson Koech has directly contradicted President Ruto's directive, stating, "The president said shoot but not kill. I want to say it here, shoot to kill." This represents an unprecedented escalation where parliamentary leaders are openly calling for more violence than even the president authorized. Koech's statement reveals a dangerous fracture within government leadership on the use of lethal force. He termed protesters as criminals and terrorists threatening the security of the state, declaring, "These are not innocent people, they're criminals storming parliament and businesses. They should be treated as terrorists." The implications are staggering when we consider the existing track record of police violence. With over 80 protesters already killed since June 2024, and 31 more deaths recorded just this week, Koech's call for shoot-to-kill orders could legitimize even more extreme police brutality. Remember to subscribe to Shadowline News for our continued coverage of this unprecedented crisis in Kenyan governance. We're tracking every development as this story continues to unfold. What makes Koech's statement particularly dangerous is the authority he wields. As National Assembly Defense Committee chairperson, his words carry significant weight among security forces who may interpret his statements as official policy guidance. The pattern is deeply troubling. First, Interior Cabinet Secretary Murkomen issued shooting orders, then President Ruto authorized shooting protesters in the leg, and now MP Koech is calling for outright execution. This escalating rhetoric creates a permission structure for increasingly lethal police responses. Koech defended his position by citing the Police Act, saying it gives officers the legal right to use their weapons if their lives, or those of the public, are under threat. However, legal experts point out that this grossly misinterprets the legal framework governing police use of force. The psychological impact on law enforcement cannot be understated. When senior officials compete to sound tougher on protesters, it creates an environment where officers feel pressured to use maximum force to demonstrate loyalty to the government's hardline stance. International human rights law is clear. Extrajudicial killings are never justified, regardless of property damage or civil unrest. Koech's comments come after President Ruto, while launching the police housing project at Kilimani police station, directed police to shoot looters and violent protesters in the leg rather than killing them. The fact that a senior MP is openly contradicting presidential directives suggests either a breakdown in government coordination or a deliberate strategy to provide different levels of authorization to different audiences. Both scenarios are deeply concerning for civilian safety. Stay with Shadowline News as we continue monitoring this developing crisis. Your subscription helps us maintain our commitment to fearless journalism in the face of increasing government hostility toward press freedom. What's particularly alarming is how this rhetoric dehumanizes protesters. By labeling all demonstrators as criminals and terrorists, these officials are stripping away the presumption of innocence and the right to peaceful protest that are fundamental to democratic governance. Monday's Saba Saba protests left at least 31 people dead and 63 injured, according to the National Police Service. More than 560 people were arrested in connection with the demonstrations, which were largely led by Gen Z youth calling for good governance, justice, and an end to police brutality. The irony is stark. Young people protesting police brutality are being met with calls for even more lethal force. This creates a vicious cycle where government violence generates more protests, which in turn are met with calls for greater violence. Regional observers are expressing alarm at Kenya's rapid descent into authoritarian rhetoric. The combination of existing police brutality, official shooting orders, and now calls for execution represents a dangerous precedent that could influence other African governments facing civil unrest. The international community must recognize that this is not simply about law and order. When government officials openly call for killing protesters, it represents a fundamental breakdown of democratic governance and respect for human rights. This has been your critical update from Shadowline News. We will continue monitoring this dangerous escalation and its implications for Kenya's democratic future. The stakes could not be higher for civilian safety and constitutional governance.